Hi, let us see the convolution integrals which are used for the analysis of continuous time systems in this video lecture. Let x1 of t and x2 of t be the two input signals, CT signals. x3 of t is actually generated based on the output of convolution of x1 of t and x2 of t. The formula for convolution goes like this: integral x1 of tau, x2 of t minus tau into d tau. Integral limits will be from minus infinity to plus infinity. x1 of t, x2 of t, x3 of t will all be of continuous time signals, and x3 of t is the signal obtained by convolving x1 of t with x2 of t. Tau is a dummy variable for integration, and the process of convolution is denoted by a small asterisk operator. Let us see the procedure for performing convolution. Procedure for generating the output using convolution integrals. I've already told you that x3 of t is the result of convolution of two continuous time signals, x1 of t and x2 of t. You know that the formula for convolution integral is integral minus infinity to plus infinity x1 of tau into x2 of t minus tau into d tau. Right? Here, to obtain the output using convolution, it is very evident x1 of t will be given. You are supposed to change the variable of the signal time index by tau in the first signal as well as in the second signal. Since x2 of t is given, when I change the variable, it will become x2 of t tau. Right? There are two signals readily available now. The first process is change of time index. Right. The second process is called a folding. Second step is called a folding operation, where this x2 of tau is to be folded to obtain x2 of minus tau in this case. So the resultant signal will be x2 of minus tau. The third step will be shifting in time units. Shifting of the second signal. Already you have x2 of minus tau. When you shift it, you will say you will obtain x2 of minus tau plus t, because shifted by t time units. The same thing is also represented as x2 of t minus tau. That is for the convenience of pronunciation. Right. The next one is multiplication. The next step involved in the process is called the multiplication step, where the x2 of t minus tau will be multiplied with x1 of tau to obtain the product x1 of tau and x2 of t minus tau. The product signal is to be integrated. The final step is integration. During integration, the product is which product? x1 of tau into x2 of t minus tau is integrated with respect to d tau, and this gives me the result called x3 of t, as you all know. But the product is non-zero within the interval tau 1 to tau 2, say for example. So I will put tau is equal to tau 1 to tau is equal to tau 2 in this case. Non-zero in the interval tau 1 to tau 2. Now the signal is ready. If both the signals are defined as, say for example, x1 of t and x2 of t are defined as Casal signals, if they are defined only for the values of t greater than 0, Casal signals, then the product will be from tau is equal to 0 to t. Tau is equal to 0 to t. If in this case the integral limits will be modified. So in order to determine the range of values of tau for the product signal, the graphical representation will be very much useful. So what are all the steps involved? Folding, shifting, multiplication. are all really very important. Of course, change of time index is there, folding is to be carried out, shifting is to be done, and they are to be multiplied. Once the multiplied signal is ready, they are to be integrated, right? From minus infinity to plus infinity is in the regular format, but usually from tau 1 to tau 2. But both the signals, if they are defined for t greater than 0, it is better to define the lower limit as 0 and upper limit will be t. So that is the practical formula that we are using for CT convolution. So in the above convolution, the signals x1 of t and x2 of t are defined by single mathematical equation, right, from minus infinity to plus infinity. Let us see the convolution of impulse signals. Convolution of impulse signal. How to carry out? Let us see. First case, actually x of t convolved with del of t. What would be the product? It is expected to be the same, x of t alone. Convolution of impulse with x of t produces x of t alone. How to prove this? The proof is very easy, because by definition x of t convolved with del of t is denoted as tau varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. Yes, x of tau into del of t minus tau d tau. Agreed? Where del of t minus tau is not equal to 0 only at t is equal to tau is equal to t alone. If so, the entire expression, the result will become is equal to x of tau, where tau will be equal to t. Or I will put it in the other way, x of t convolved with del of t is simply x of tau, but tau will be equal to t. So this can be very well written as x of t itself. First case is over. The second case, convolution of impulses with x of t. Second case, I have x of t, a signal, some arbitrary signal, convolved with del of t minus t naught. What would be the result? See, it will also result in x of t minus t naught. Delayed shifted impulses, if they are convolved with x of t, the result will be x of t minus tau. Say t minus t naught. Okay. How to prove this? Proof is also very simple. The proof part, you can find out x of t by definition L of t minus t naught will be written as tau varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, x of tau del of t minus tau, but here del of t minus t naught is already available, minus tau into d tau is introduced. As you all know, the del of t minus t naught minus tau will not be equal to 0 only if tau is equal to t minus t naught. How do you say that? Because t minus t naught minus tau should be equal to 0, then only del of t will be equal to 1, isn't it? So by just equating t minus t naught minus tau is equal to 0, you notice that tau will be equal to simply t minus t naught. So you can just see this is equal to x of tau, simply x of tau, because it is non-zero only at the place where tau is equal to t minus t naught. So you can say that instead of writing like that, x of t minus t naught, the property of impulse is over. Shall we go to the next one? Right. Let us calculate, or let us discuss about the response of CT LTI system using convolution integrals. Let us see that. you know that if LTI system, CT LTI system is applied with an input x of t, and if you know the impulse response of the system is h of t, then the output will be simply obtained by the convolution of input signal with impulse response. According to the formula, this can be very well represented as minus infinity to plus infinity x of tau into h of t minus tau d tau, right? Where asterisk denotes the convolution operation. This is how we used to obtain the convolution integral of a CT-LTI system. Not only convolution, the response for the convolution or response for the CT-LTI system using convolution, if you know impulse response, it is possible for you to calculate unit step response also. Unit step response using convolution integral. How to calculate it? See, you know that if CT LTI system is available, when it is applied with an input x of t, when produces y of t as an output, where the impulse response is denoted by h of t, let me call this a CT LTI system. Since it accepts continuous time signal as an input, it produces continuous time system signal as an output. And you know very well, according to convolution integral, it is possible for you to obtain the output of a CT LTI system using convolution. So this can be represented as integral tau varies from minus infinity to plus infinity x of tau into h of t minus tau d tau, right? X of t be the, if I just imagine x of t be the unit step signal. What is unit step signal? You know that it is u of t will be equal to 1 only for t greater than or equal to 0, and this is said to be 0 for all the time when t is less than 0. Unit step signal in pictorial representation, you can easily understand that the signal will be 1 1 1 1 1 only for the values of t greater than or equal to 0, and on the t-axis you can simply note down, right? This is called u of t. If x of t input is unit step signal, then if x of t is u of t, then we shall denote y of t by a special notation, that is s of t. Let me introduce what is s of t, because at the time you are applying not x of t, it is u of t, isn't it? It is u of t. So input is to be convolved with h of t. That is the rule. Or using commutative property, you can even mention that it is the result of convolution of h of t with u of t. Commutative property of convolution. So when you start integrating it, or when you expand it using formula, you know very clearly that this can be represented as h of tau into u of t minus tau. First signal, change of time index. Second signal is folded. Not only folded, shifted. Not only shifted and folded, they are actually multiplied. The product is integrated. D tau is available. So tau is from minus infinity to plus infinity in ideal occasions. But you know very clearly that u of t minus tau is equal to 1 only when the lambda or tau is a value between t to minus infinity to t. Why? Because in that duration alone, u of t minus tau is 1, folded, shifted by an amount of t units. If you want to have practical representation, I am ready to show you that. I just imagine u of t is this one. What is u of t? U of t is naturally having amplitude as 1 only for the values of t greater than or equal to 0. This is called u of t. If you fold it, how will it look like? If you fold it, the folded signal will be over this axis. So it is u of minus t, right? When the variables are changed, you know that the same signal is represented by u of tau. Say for example, I have a signal like this. This is called u of tau, where in the tau axis also tau tends to become positive value. When you fold it, the sequence will become, or the signal will become folded sequence or folded signal. It will have an amplitude as 1 only for, this is u of minus tau over tau axis. For values of tau less than 0 alone, you have these values 1 1 1 1. And if it is delayed by an amount, you can very well see that the signal actually available somewhere from here, right? It is delayed by an amount, so up to t, that is what it is known as u of minus tau plus t, isn't it? From minus infinity to some value t, right? That is why the range is specified like this. When the tau is between minus infinity to t, the values of the signal tends to have an amplitude as 1 1 1 1 1, right? So even you don't have to have this. Basically this is sufficient. Which one is sufficient? U of t, I'll give you. U of t is this one. What is u of t? You will have an amplitude as 1, right? This is u of t. For values of t greater than or equal to 0, this is available. Change of time index, it becomes u of tau. T tends to become, right? T tends to become tau, right? Now folding, let me write the description here. Folding, not only folding, this includes shifting also. Can you understand that? No. From the graphical representation of the signal, it is understood that the signal will have an amplitude as 1. From minus infinity up to t, the value will be equal to 1. If so, I can simply proceed with the computation of unit step response, which is actually given as tau is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity, h of tau into u of t minus tau d tau. But because of the conditions, u of minus tau plus t is equal to 1 only for values of tau between, values of tau between minus infinity to t, and it is 0 everywhere. Based on the conditions, when we apply it into the integral, minus infinity is okay. Tau starts from minus infinity, tau, but should end at t. So this is h of tau. U of t minus tau is 1 already. So d tau. That's what we say. If you know the impulse response of a system, h of t, then it is possible for you to obtain h of tau, change of time index, and then integrate it from minus infinity to t, h of tau into d tau. That gives me the step response. What is that step response? It is denoted as S of t. So it's an important formula. Step response, if you know impulse response. Impulse response to step response calculation of a CTLT system. I'll tell you, S of t is not only integral from tau from minus infinity to t, h of tau into d tau, where if h of t is a causal one, is defined, for example, if h of t is defined only for t greater than or equal to 0, that is h of t is also causal, then unit step response will be given by tau varies from 0 to t, h of tau into d tau. Integration of h of t from 0 to t gives us unit step response of CT LTI system. So just imagine, if you know the transfer function h of s, by applying inverse Laplace transform you can obtain h of t. From h of t it is possible for me to obtain s of t using the integration tau is equal to 0 to t h of tau into d tau. So what is essential? You need to have h of t. From h of t, s of t can be obtained. Is that okay? So using inverse Laplace transform, from h of s to h of t can be obtained by using simple integration. You can obtain the response, step response of the CT LTI system. It's an important step. The next one, properties of convolution. Properties of convolution. How to obtain the properties? I have x1 of t convolved with x2 of t according to commutative property. The same can be expressed as the convolution of x2 of t convolved with x1 of t. This is called commutative property. Commutative property. The next property is called associative property. How will you express associative property in CT LTI systems or in convolution integrals? x1 of t convolved with x2 of t. Finally, result is convolved with x3 of t can be expressed as just taking the convolution of x2 of t with x3 of t, and then the final result can be convolved with x1 of t. Associative property. Or you can speak about distributive property. How to express distributive property? I have x1 of t, x2 of t and x3 of t. There are three signals available. Let me introduce a plus sign between. That is, x2 of t is added with x3 of t. The result is convolved with x1 of t. Can be expressed as x1 of t convolved with x2 of t, yes, and x1 of t is convolved with x3 of t. The result is added. These two are summed up. Both are equal to one another. That is how it is denoted. So the proof for commutative property. Consider two continuous time signals x1 of t and x2 of t, right? By commutative property, you know that x1 of t can be convolved with x2 of t, or x2 of t can be convolved with x1 of t. Let me call this as LHS and right hand side is RHS. So when you take LHS alone, you notice that x1 of t convolved with x2 of t can be represented as, how will you denote it? According to the formula, where the formula says tau varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, x1 of tau into x2 of t minus tau d tau, right? Tau is a dummy variable used for convolution operation alone. So let me introduce another dummy variable, tau minus t or t minus tau is equal to p. If so, you know that tau can be very well represented as t minus p, isn't it? So when you take d tau, it can be very well represented as dp. It's a function of tau, isn't it? Right. This is okay. Whereas if tau is equal to minus infinity, then p will be equal to, what is p? P is equal to t minus n, t minus tau, isn't it? So this will become minus it will become plus infinity. And you can notice if tau is equal to plus infinity, p is equal to p is equal to minus infinity. If these two things are known to you, then you can simply make modifications replacing tau by t minus p, t minus tau by p, right? Tau by t minus p, t minus tau by p, isn't it? Okay. When you make corrections, LHS can be furthermore written as integral from p varies from, I'll put it in this way, p varies from plus infinity to minus infinity, x1 of, what is it, within braces, earlier tau was present, now tau can be replaced by t minus p, isn't it? Whereas you had x2 of t minus tau was actually replaced by p, right? And d tau is represented by minus dp. So you can notice that minus, if it is taken outside, this will become very well represented as integral from p is equal to plus infinity to minus infinity, x1 of t minus p into x2 of p into dp. An equation becomes a function of t. Variable of integration is p. Okay. Now, by just changing, p is a dummy variable used for convolution operation alone, and you can notice that this can be furthermore written as p varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. Now x2 of p into x1 of t minus p into dp. So this is what known as x2 of t convolved with x1 of t, which is equal to RHS. Commutative property is proven. The next one is associative property. How to prove associative property? Proof for associative property. In fact, it is a tedious one. We need mathematical ideas to proceed with the proof. What is the property? First of all, I would like to write it: x1 of t convolved with x2 of t, right? The result is convolved with x3 of t is equal to x1 of t convolved with the result of convolution of x2 of t with x3 of t. I need to identify left hand side as well as right hand side. This portion is called LHS, and you know that this side is RHS. Okay, let me deal with say for example, let me start with a simple assumption. Say for example, y1 of t is equal to x1 of t convolved with x2 of t. How will you write this? This will be, say for example, everywhere the t will appear, it's better for me to replace t by p. Okay, so now you can see that the equation will become y1 of t is equal to x1 of p convolved with x2 of p. Good. According to the formula, this can be written as, where we need to introduce a dummy variable. For example, m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, x1 of m, x2 of p minus m. Notice it is integrated with respect to m alone. Yes. Similarly, I can have another dummy variable y2 of t, which gives me the result of x2 of t convolved with x3 of t, right? But according to the formula, this can be written as, where q is a dummy variable from minus infinity to plus infinity, x2 of q, x1 of t minus q, but variable of integration is q only, so it is written so. This is y2 of t, right? Then what is y2 of t minus m? If t is delayed by m units, what will be the impact on this equation, integral equation? Q varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. x2 of q, x1 of t is actually delayed by t is delayed by t minus m minus q, correct? And as usual, the dq is present here. So t is alone varied by t minus m. Even this portion, I just want to mention, this is t minus m is t minus m. T is replaced by t minus m in this equation. Once you do this, you can find out there are two dummy variables p, q. All those variables are called, what are they? They are called in the name of dummy variables for convolution operation, used for convolution operation. So if you just take all these equations are to be given with some names, numbers, I'll just mention it. The first equation is available here. Let me call this as first equation. The second one is an assumption made by me. The third one is, say for example, I'm just obtaining this equation. Let me call this as an important equation. Similarly, I just go to the next part where this is obtained by third equation. Let me go to this one as the fourth equation. If you have all this equation numbers, you can easily refer back, right? Refer to those equations. So let me, as a whole, let me introduce what is LHS. LHS is actually given by x1 of t if you consider the LHS part, it is x1 of t convolved with x2 of t, and then finally the result of these two signals convolution result is convolved with x3 of t. Yes, that is how it is written. So I can simply represent the convolution of x1 of t and x2 of t as y1 of t, because as you all know that it is y1 of t, and the result is convolved with x3 of t as usual. So you can notice that the result of convolution will be normally represented as, say for example, p varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, y1 of p into x3 of t minus p into dp. Okay, right. So what is y1 of t? Y1 of p is already mentioned. What is y1 of p? Y1 of p is equal to integral m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, x1 of m into x2 of p minus m dm, isn't it? So if you substitute into the previous equation, this y1 of p is alone replaced. Now you can notice that LHS will become simply LHS is equal to p varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, and the y1 of t is alone replaced, m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, x1 of m into x2 of p minus m into dm, where this x3 process is also impending, isn't it? x3 of t minus p into dp, that should be included here. So x3 of t minus p into dp is also there. Let me rearrange the factors, the x1 of m, dm, all those variables are to be put up under integral from m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, x1 of m into dm, or the remaining integrations will be over p is equal to minus infinity. The terms which involve p will be put together. x2 of p minus m is the first term, x3 of t minus p is the next term, and dp. So here if you make substitutions, p minus m is equal to q, and p is equal to q plus m, and dp is equal to dq, and when p is equal to minus infinity, q becomes p minus m. So this is minus infinity minus m, so it is minus infinity. When p is equal to plus infinity, you will notice that surprisingly this q is also plus infinity, right? So replacing p minus m by q, q plus m is replaced by p. Okay, then I can simply go for a new representation of LHS equation. This becomes integral m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity x1 of m into dm is available as such. You leave it. Whereas the second part, in the second part you can notice that q becomes minus infinity to plus infinity x2 of q. Yes, p minus n was replaced by q, and x3 of t minus p. T minus p is actually t minus p. P can be replaced by q plus m, isn't it? So this becomes t minus q plus m. So t minus q minus m. You will get everything in terms of q. You can simply mention this as the convolution of, what is this? This convolution of y2 of t minus m. Just notice this. y2 of t minus m. y2 of t minus m. So I can mention at last like this: m is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity x1 of m y2 of t minus m dm. So this becomes simply x1 of t convolved with y2 of t. As you all know, y2 of t, what is y2 of t? y2 of t is actually, do you remember what is y2 of t? y2 of t is y2 of t. Yes, y2 of t is the result of convolution of x2 of t with x3 of t. So let me go back and say, if I replace this y2 of t by x2 of t convolved with x3 of t, is the result of convolution, which is actually RHS, right? So you can very well write this. Whenever you get x1 of t convolved with x2 of t, the result is to be finally convolved with x3 of t. Can be done like this also. You can take x2 of t and you can convolve it with x3 of t, and then finally you can convolve the result of this convolution with x1 of t. This is what called as RHS, and this is what represented as LHS. LHS is equal to RHS. The proof of convolution properties, second property is over, and then we will go to the proof of distributive property. Distributive property. How to mention that? Distributive property, x1 of t is convolved with x2 of t plus x3 of t. There are two signals, x2 of t and x3 of t. They are added. The result of addition, summation, sum of these two signals is convolved with x1 of t, right? Or you can even represent x1 of t is convolved with x2 of t separately, and similarly x1 of t is convolved with x3 of t separately. Those two convolution results could be put up together, and you will get the answer. So I'll call this as RHS, and this part is called as LHS. Let me introduce LHS alone separately. Reduce LHS so that LHS will result in RHS. x1 of t is convolved with x2 of t plus x3 of t, isn't it? I'll put it in this way. Let me call this as the sum of these two as x4 of t. So I can say that this is x1 of t convolved with x4 of t, and according to the formula, this will be m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity x1 of m into x4 of t minus m dm is available. Or you can say that it is m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity x1 of m, yes, x4 of t minus m is simply, what is that? x2 of t minus, I'll put it in this way. x2 of t minus m, t is replaced by t minus m, x3 of t minus m into what is originally written, that is integrated with respect to m. You can notice that x4 of t minus m, x4 of t minus m is replaced by x2 of t minus m plus x3 of t minus m. Now you can expand this. Because of this expansion, you will notice m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity x1 of m into x2 of t minus m dm is one integration. The next one will be simply m varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. x1 of m multiplied by x3 of t minus m dm. That's why we say that it is what is it? It is equal to x1 of t convolved with x2 of t, and x1 of t is convolved with x3 of t. These two signals are added to get the answer. That is the distributive property of CT convolution integrals. I hope you would have got a clear picture about those titles. So we have covered CT convolution and the basic steps involved in performing the convolution, and we have told you about the convolution of impulses with an arbitrary signals, how to compute the response of LTI system, continuous time LTI system, using impulse response and convolution integrals, and how to obtain unit step response using convolution integrals, especially if you know the impulse response of the system, and also the properties of convolution along with their proofs are illustrated so far. Thank you.